are, well, if you're a Nole, you win a top 10 series on the road in baseball, take 2 of 3. And then, of course, you just saw a bevy of great young men from Florida State get drafted, including Jordan Travis in the 5th. How great was that? Happy for him. And what a great representation for Florida State. It's not surprising. We said going into the draft they would have a ton of guys taken, and they did. And I think there's a couple good articles on warchant.com about that. Ira and Corey both writing pieces about that. Of course, last week on the show, right before we went to break for the weekend, I had Matt Lasser on, and we tried to monitor this past weekend to see what was going to happen in the transfer portal. And as of right now, it's kind of, all right, still waiting to see. Still waiting to see something big here. It'll happen at some point. Yours truly booked it on down to Tampa, saw the Lightning win and not go out with a whimper, which was nice. Got to see a little 6-goal effort as I was center ice for that one, which was nice. And now you fight to stay alive tonight. I know you guys don't care about that, so I'll get it back to the Noles, but that's a big series win against Duke. Hello, Tommy. How are you? I know you're a little tired. You've been traveling the states as well, but you're back, ready to go, and it's good to see your face, buddy.
Hey, it's good to see you too. Yeah, a little tired. If I sound a little beleaguered, there was one of those 11 p.m. Pacific flights that land at 7 o'clock in New York. So hard to fall asleep on a plane, even in Comfort Plus, buddy. Hard to fall asleep on a plane in those circumstances. So we'll figure it out, though. We'll get the body clock righted, and it won't affect us like it did, of course, Stanford all those years ago when the College Football Playoff Committee was citing, well, I mean, it's body clock. It was a noon kickoff at Northwestern. It's 9 a.m. for them.
I don't know what listen, I think big picture, because football carries the day, I'm more pleased, I suppose, with the sheer numbers of Noles that went and others that got signed as undrafted free agents. And again, a fine representation of a drastic turnaround for this program under Mike Norvell. But as it pertains to like a singular season and what matters more, Florida State going and getting game 1 and 2 on the road against Duke, and in the fashion that they did it, really is going to pay huge dividends here, because you kind of knew what was coming yesterday. I think everybody under the sun realized it really doesn't matter. We won the series. You're going to throw a bevy of arms that aren't really prepared for this situation, and it showed. They got their ass lit and run ruled, and you weren't even mad because you realized you did what you needed to do there before coming home and having a huge series this week. And I got to tell you, I'll be out at Hauser this weekend, and so will my father and my boys and Johnny Mac. They're all sitting in there with Section B, Tommy. They're going to be ready to roll.
Outstanding. I have something for your dad. I have a gift for him I'll bring down next time. I don't think he's in any rush to get this, but it's cool. On Saturday at Oracle Park in San Francisco, they gave away number 24 New York Giants jerseys before you went into New York Baseball Giants jerseys before you went into the park. And
that'll be neat.
It was to the first 15,000. We were there early because we wanted to walk around, see the sights, and it was a glorious night for the Buccos as they won in extra innings. So I've got that for Dad as we get down there probably in the summer. I'll bring it with me.
So what was for you the most surprising, either good or bad, selection of a Florida State football player? Like the most surprising, probably where he was, had to have been Jordan Travis in the 5th round?
Yeah, probably so. I will tell you, though, social media, it did the right thing. Sometimes social media is really, really cool. But when I learned that Braden Fisk was also going to the Rams, because I was chasing my tail a little bit. We had some family stuff this weekend, and so I would check my phone intermittently, and when I saw that Braden was going to the Rams, immediately my heart skipped a beat because I know how close they are. This is the benefit of us going to practice, and I've got those stories. I've told those stories about Fisk and Verse standing with Odell Hagens and going through angles and stunts and twists and all kinds of things that they can employ together as a duo, and how they walk out of practice together and they're yucking it up with each other and they seem to really enjoy each other's company. As soon as that happened, as much as I don't like the Rams, as much as I don't like Sean McVay, as much as I think they bastardized those uniforms that were perfect and they make them into these neon nonsense things, I immediately thought if the Rams are on in the 4 o'clock window, I'm going to be tuning in because I get to watch these two guys work together. So it wasn't a surprise in terms of where he landed on the board, what round he was drafted, but that a team actually did it. And they put two Noles next to each other again on the defensive line. That is so freaking cool.
You've seen the video. I know you've seen the video. The video is amazing when they break down. And, you can see the love that they have for one another. And it really is part of a larger conversation that we've continued to have. Now, I don't know how many times I've tried to convey this as a guest on other shows, but we get asked if you cover the team and you have a radio show like I do, or a podcast, or both, or whatever, you get asked to be on other people's shows when they're previewing games or previewing the draft or previewing anything that involves Florida State. And I do a lot of shows, and a lot of people have asked a different version of the same question over and over and over again about how quickly Florida State got it turned around. And they've talked about Mike Norvell, and they've asked about basically the secret, what's the secret formula? And I've said, well, it's evident to everybody that they do a very good job in the portal. I mean, obviously, just look at the names of people that they have brought in here and how those players performed once they got here, elevating their stock, improving upon their stock, and then obviously getting drafted. It resonates, and it's really only going to help Florida State down the line and continue to help Florida State grow. But I said it's not enough to look at Jermaine Johnson, it's, Keir Thomas. It's not enough to look at the bevy of transfers that just went in this draft for Florida State and just say, well, they're really good at identifying players at other programs and bringing them in. Because anybody can do that. Anybody in college football is allowed to find those same players, but nobody's really done that better than Florida State has and Mike Norvell has. And I think what you praise here is twofold. It's identifying talent and evaluating how that fits with what you're trying to do. And then, again, sticking to a standard by which you greenlight a yes or no on that transfer. There have been plenty of guys, and I can tell you this, I know this for a fact, that wanted to be here, whose profiles were highly touted, who were guys that other programs wanted, high-profile programs, that Florida State, upon further review, said, you know what? Good luck to him. This isn't going to work for us. And the way they do it is smart, because it's usually a no hard feelings, hey, it's okay. You know what? We're not for everybody. Mike says that line all the time. We're not for everybody. Well, really what he's saying is, yeah, we're not for everybody, and everybody's not for us. So the truth is, there has to be an understanding when these offers are made and a conversation about what you're going to be, the standard you be held up to, what is expected of you, etc. And that's why it has worked. It's not just, hey, identify a kid who runs real fast and bring him in here because we need a guy who runs real fast. It's not just, hey, you know what? You need a defensive end. Go grab that defensive end. Sure. Look, we're not naive. The people that you're talking to have to be talented. They have to be good football players. But that's assumed when you go through the process that, look, I wouldn't be talking to you if you couldn't play. Just because you're a locker room fit, if you suck, it doesn't do us any good. But there are a lot of check marks, a lot of boxes to check. And that's one of them. It's not the only one. And they've done a really, really good job of adhering to that. And it's one of the reasons that time and again with these transfers that get drafted, when you listen to their interviews, and I'm not saying it's 100%. Not everybody that's come through here has thought this was the greatest place on earth. I'm not telling you that. But the vast majority of the impactful transfer portal players that have come in here and helped shift this program into one of the top 10 in the country, top 7, 6, 5 in the country, have all had glowing things to say about, in some cases, a very brief time in Tallahassee, right? Glowing things to say about what the coaches helped them achieve, the steps they took, what the locker room was like, what the work ethic was, the leadership they gained, the trust they were able to, at some point, render. It's interesting to watch that play out. I think it all plays out in these drafts when these kids talk about the coaching staff and talk about their time at FSU and talk about playing with each other. A lot of them really like to talk about what it meant to come in together, build this thing back up, and now see it come full circle where all of a sudden Florida State's back to being what Florida State used to always be, which was a program that won a lot of football games, but also churned out NFL talent.
Yeah, we need to get better in high school recruiting so we have those stories more often in the NFL draft. But man, I like when we get transfers and these stories work out because the transfer arrives here hungry by nature. And I know that this word is thrown around and sometimes it's a whistle, and I don't mean it in that way. They're not entitled. Like a lot of times when you grab a top flight 4-star or a low 5-star or any kind of 5-star really that comes to your program, they've never been told no in their life. The adversity that they're going to face in college as a football player is the first that they're going to know as an individual. Like they've never had an issue all the way from being Pop Warner through high school football. And so there's an adjustment, there's a method of coaching through that particular adversity that they've never faced, and that's the development that they need to go through. And it's a journey I want us to go on more often. We need more players out of high school. But I love when you have players that come to the university with something to prove. So they're already here. You don't have to go through that process. Either they were passed over out of high school, they hadn't grown into their body, Jared Verse, the way that they did once they found a place, a home at FCS or a lower level, or a group of 5, or there was a coach fired, or whatever it is. It's just, I like seeing the culmination of these stories because those kids understood the assignment immediately when they arrived in Tallahassee, and they chose Florida State in a much, much different way than 17 and 18-year-olds choose Florida State. We need both. We need more out of prep. That's how you're going to build long-term success. But I just like seeing when these stories of kids who didn't have all of those offers, they didn't go on those official visits, they get their crack at it because of the transfer portal, and then they're able to make money like a Braden Fisk is able to make money, like a Jared Verse is able to make money. That is so cool to me. And that's what this NFL draft class represents by and large. Now, there are others who fought through it from beginning to end, like Renardo Green. And I think San Francisco is going to fall in love with Renardo Green. What an incredible value he's going to be. Actually, being out in San Francisco when he was drafted, I was able to give a lot of people as a moment. I was, you're going to like this guy. He is a bruiser. He's a bully. He can play press man. This is going to work for you. So we have both of those stories. This is a feel good moment for this program. Double digit draftees. I think it should have been more. And frankly, I think our Bucks got a steal with Kalen DeLoach as an undrafted free agent. Because, if he makes the squad as a special teamer and then your 4th linebacker or something along those lines, that's an excellent undrafted free agent signing with great value for the Bucks. But yeah, 10 is a number I thought was a little lower than I expected, but a lot of good stories this weekend.
Could have more next year. We'll talk to Ira in hour number 2 about that very subject. He brought it up in his 3-2-1. We do need to touch on the baseball. That was big. Also look at, just the draft as a whole. I will say it's fun to be a part of a question. Okay, so you do these post-draft grades that people do, and it really kind of puts typically the feather on the cap or the cherry on top of the previous college football season. Because now all the big names that we saw at all the big programs, we've seen it through. They're no longer associated as an active player with their university, and they've moved on to the pros, and we know their location. So we know, for all these programs, whether it's all of our guys, whether it's a player like Terrion Arnold or Dallas Turner at Alabama or any of the Georgia guys, we know where they all are now. And we start thinking about the fits and how that worked, but also we start thinking about the teams. And this is where it's fun being us finally to be back at this place, who, when you lose double-digit NFL players, it's a fair question to ask, who's going to struggle to replace them the most? Who is in a position to replace those players with something of a similar caliber player? It's rare that you would see. So, for example, and I'll get more into this on the other side of the break, but I think Michigan's going to have a hard time. I think Alabama could have a hard time. This isn't a shot at Michigan, but you think about that volume of players. It's crazy. They had 18 players earning invites to the scouting combine, for example. By the way, we had 12 to the scouting combine. Washington had 13. Texas had 11. Georgia had 11. So obviously the best teams in the country, of which Florida State were amongst them, had the most invitees. And then you have, the actual draft itself. But if you're Michigan, you lost 10 of 11 starters on offense, plus your head coach. So you might want to say that that's going to be harder for them to replace. Don't know. Then you go back over and you look at an Alabama who lost their head coach. And we can go through the bevy of players that they lost as well and how much more difficult that will be. And then also, then we come back home and we turn the camera back on us and say, all right, well, now, admittedly, we like what's happened here, but man alive, that is a lot of talent that just exited to the league. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Attention Florida, are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Lika Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Lika Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Lika Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLikaLawFirm.com. Hyson Lika Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Oz is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch A Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch A Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch A Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
I'm Greg Tisch, here to share one of my favorite TCC stories. In the summer of 1966, Eugene Lamb wanted to stay in shape before leaving to play college basketball in Louisiana. So he jogged to Tallahassee from his home in Midway and helped lay the bricks for the first building on what's now the TCC campus on Appleyard Drive. Today, he is a longtime member of the TCC District Board of Trustees. It's no exaggeration when we say Trustee Lamb helped build TCC into what it is today.
TCC thanks our community for 58 years of support. We look forward to moving into the future together.
A cup of Joe, Java, Brew, Go-Go Beans, Brainwater, Liquid Lightning, Wakey Juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roastmaster himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name, because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Hit grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
Have you been injured on Interstate 10? I'm Jimmy Fasig of Fasig Brooks Law Offices. We've partnered with RoadProof to access all interstate traffic cameras along I-10 from Pensacola to Jacksonville. Let us help you get the proof you need to stand up for yourself and get fair compensation for your injuries. Call us today and let us secure the proof you need to come back stronger. Basic Brooks, 850-777-7777. Offices Destin, Tallahassee, and Jacksonville.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Should point out that you guys watching on Warchant TV and perhaps hanging out are in the Heisen Legal Law Firm chat, dedicated to representing injured clients. That's Heisen Legal Law Firm. If you've been in an accident, call Heisen Legal Law Firm 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Heisen Lincoln Law Firm. That is a name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 right now, or visit HeisenLincolnLawFirm.com. Heisen Lincoln Law Firm, your advocate in times of need. Offices, Tampa. I need a consultation, Tom, about why I keep having dreams in which I run through spider webs. I had another one last night. The second or third time in the last 2 months that I dreamt that I was running through between trees and the damn spider was right there and I couldn't get him off my head and I was running around crazy because he was huge.
Maybe that's symbolizing Florida State basketball and the the situation that they're in. I'm trying to find a sports what it could symbolize in sports, because right now most of your teams are doing pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think it's a sports related thing. I think it's something else in my non public life or non sports talk show life. It's something else that's eating at me. And I got to get to the root of it, Tom. It's something my brain's trying to tell me, like, you need to take care of this or we're going to keep sending spiders to you every night in a dream. We know how you hate them, but until you catch on to the message we're sending, more spiders for you, dumbass.
Maybe it could be the portal. Maybe it's the portal. Hey, where are these receivers? You just damn it. These spider webs are hindering me of going where I want to go.
I can't get these receivers we need or another defensive tackle. This is driving me nuts. Let's see. Here you go. There's a spider dream. You have to enlarge that because I'm blind as a bat. The dreamer is suffering with general anxiety or fear of the unknown. Now, they say that most dream analysis is hogwash. Just complete nonsense. It's not rooted in any basis of fact at all. But, hey, who knows? Maybe I am suffering from general anxiety or fear of the unknown. Most of my stuff and most of the things in my life are known. Just like there's no more unknown left. I'm old enough. I've seen that. People say things to me now. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that happened in 84. They're like, Jesus, you were here in 84? I'm like, God, yes. I'd been here for some time. Not Tallahassee, just on Earth. So you can't do it. It's like when you say something to your dad, he's like, I remember in 63 that happened. You're like, Jesus, 63? My goodness gracious. Yeah, I do that now, and I get that same look from kids. Like my kids bring their friends over, and we'll all be talking, and I'm grilling and doing something, and somebody will say something that happened in 1982, and I'll go, or they'll say it happened in 82, and I'll go, no, I think that was 81 or 80. They're like, were you? Yeah, oh, yeah, I was 10 years old. I remember that vividly. The look on their face is the look I have when my dad talks about Y.A. Tittle. Y.A. Tittle pops, Jesus.
It's happening to me. 6 months away from being 38, which is basically 40 at that point. And as I've said, we've met peers up here in New York, just going around and watching games and seeing fans of other teams like, oh, they're our age. And then a child walks up behind them that's 16 or 17 years old. You go, oh. So I'm not young anymore. I understand. This is middle age. I'm approaching middle age squarely. You felt middle-aged at 40, didn't you?
I think at 37. Yeah, 37, 38. I really enjoyed year 37 of my life, and there was a lot going on at that time, and I think I was like, okay, yeah, I certainly had graduated, and I'm a late bloomer. That is a nice way of me describing being incredibly immature for the larger part of my first 32, 33 years on Earth. You, on the other hand, are a very old soul, because you were the last in line and have much older siblings. But I don't, somewhere in the mid-30s, I began to realize we're at a different stage. And then it happens again when you hit 50. You're like, oh, we're at a different stage again. So back to Florida State for a second. We were talking about, I'll get to the baseball, but we were talking about replacing players on the roster and going through all the guys that left. And obviously, with Keon Coleman, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Renardo Green, Trey Benson, Jerry Jones, Jordan Travis, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell, Tatum Bethune, Kalen DeLoach, undrafted free agent, but he's gone too. And you go through all these names. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but I was just rattling them off here of all the guys that are gone. When you say that out loud to yourself, you go, well, damn. I mean, that is a lot. I mean, these are guys that all played pivotal roles in Florida State's success in some of the biggest games of the year last year. And, of course, they won all of them. So you realize that. But then yet I don't feel like it's nearly as daunting as when I just got done rattling off all the names that Michigan lost, right? They lose their coach. They lose Blake Corum and Loveland and Colson and Barrett and Jenkins and Harrell and McGregor. And, I mean, I pulled up all these guys. I looked up Alabama. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, Dallas Turner, J.C. Latham, Jalen Milroe will be back, but that's not a good thing necessarily. I just going through all this. They lost their coach as well, and he happens to be the greatest of all time. So all of a sudden, you go, okay, well, a lot of the great teams lost a lot of people, but I feel all right. I feel all right compared to what they lost and what we lost and what we have coming back and what they have coming back.
Quick interjection. I do believe Malik Benson would agree with you that, the quarterback coming back for Alabama is not a good thing. Might be why Malik Benson hit the portal and decided to come play with DJU at Florida State.
Yeah. And I failed to mention, did I fail to mention Trey Benson or did I mention him before when we were congratulating everybody? That was cool for him as well. There's so many great videos and moments from over the weekend. Obviously, I was very, very happy for Jordan Travis. I failed to mention this before when we were talking about the draft. Sometimes, you evaluate this initially by good, they drafted him. Other times you look at a guy and you're like, God, that's a toughie. I wish he hadn't gone there. And I will tell you, even though this has not been a franchise that's had a ton of success in recent memory, I do think Travis went to the perfect situation. Jordan Travis going there where he's not expected to play at all, not even anytime soon, really. He's got at the very least a full year of not having to worry about being the guy, unless, of course, 4 plays into the season, Aaron Rodgers tears his other Achilles. And there'd be some of us that chuckled about that. But
it's because of the chemtrails. That's why. That's why his Achilles went. It's not anything he did wrong. It's because of the chemtrails. Be careful now.
So some of us, like I said, would chuckle if that were to happen. But in the meantime, that wouldn't necessarily be good for Jordan Travis. Although, again, I don't think Jordan is expected to do anything this year. So he's got a nice situation. There's some talent there. There's some talent there. So, all right, ease on in, and go from there. Were you surprised? I wasn't. Not trying to take shots, but were you surprised Johnny Wilson fell as far as he did?
No. This was a very deep draft for wide receivers. I think at that position that the Eagles got him, that's incredible value. That could be a huge hit for them.
I mean, there's one thing and one thing only with Johnny Wilson. It's catch the ball or not. And NFL teams like their receivers to be able to catch.
I love the situation for him because that's a loaded wide receiver room. There's no pressure on him. Not only from the draft position, you're not expecting the world from somebody later in the draft, but I mean, they just re-signed AJ Brown over the weekend, long-term. Devonta Smith's a very good. I mean, he has a different skill set than those guys, but that's a situation where there's not a whole lot of pressure on him. And I think in some ways that might be good. It lets you ease. It's like Jordan Travis. It lets you ease on in. Anything you do in year one is considered a bonus, and it's a discovery process. The fan base loves you, all of those things. Whereas Keon Coleman has expectations immediately on him. Stephon Diggs out the door. He's the one who opens day 2 of the draft, and he's got Josh Allen thrown to him. Could do worse than that. Could do a whole lot worse than that from a quarterback standpoint, but that's a whole lot of pressure on Keon Coleman. Second-round draft picks don't typically have as much pressure as Keon Coleman's going to have, given that Stephon Diggs is now playing in Houston.
Yeah, it strikes me as a kid, though, that is, if healthy, more than capable of shouldering those expectations. He's a very confident human being, to say the least. That was as laid back a press conference as you'll see, humorous as it was. I mean, that's it. That's a laid back dude. So I'm not surprised that he was immediately kind of enjoyable in that setting. And I don't think he feels those kinds of, outside perceptions of what he's supposed to be, because he was really good at Michigan State and he was good here before he got hurt. But you're right. Johnny Wilson's in a nice situation. Jordan Travis is in a great situation. He's not going to be expected to play. So he's got plenty of time. And, by the time he is expected to play, he probably, there's no doubt he'll be fully healthy at that point. Just a matter of whether or not he's able to do the process and go through all the things he needs to do as a thrower. But I think for the most part, you kind of celebrate this in a way that not only did you love the sheer numbers, but you could celebrate for a lot of these guys where they went. Like, you can make good arguments for a lot of these guys that that's a perfect fit or a perfect situation. Unlike, remember, we did this with Von Stryker, you and I, and we just got done talking about it last week. I mean, the night that he got drafted to the Colts, we were like, ooh, that's not, no. I mean, I'm happy for him, but that is not a good fit at all. This is not going to work.
It was also the night that E.J. Manuel went to the Bills in the first round. But yeah, Keon's skill set, it's an oversimplification about weather. You know, it doesn't really get super cold until you get towards playoff time, even in Buffalo. But I just like that you have a physical wide receiver from Florida State, not a speed demon, that is going into a scenario with Josh Allen, Buffalo, a physical division, physical defensive backs where he's going to have to go jump for the ball, win 50-50s, especially against, like, say, the Jets. They've got extremely physical corners. The Dolphins have one that we all know and played here. But you're going to have to fight through a lot of contact to go win a 50-50 ball. You've got a quarterback who's got a rocket for an arm. His skill set, I think, marries very nicely. It pairs very nicely. For Keon, let's just say in the same division, if he went to Miami, I don't know that that's a fit. That they want to be about speed, clearly, and they double down on that. They want to be very much about speed. That's not Keon's game. But I think with what Buffalo is trying to do offensively, nice fit, nice situation, and a Knoll that could be playing some important games in December and January, and likely figures to be playing some important games. A lot of times when you got draft picks, they go to, Renardo Green could be playing in some very important games as a rookie. That's the cool thing, is you're going to get this treat not only in weeks 1 through 10, but also in the playoffs potentially.
Yeah, and Renardo Green's fit is perfect as well. I know we've talked about it, but it's really, really good fit there. I thought one of the more touching videos, there were so many good ones over the weekend, and a lot of them, again, involving Florida State players. The one that stood out is obviously watching Jared Verse and Braden Fisk take that phone call and have that conversation together and the emotions that pour out there. But, man, Tatum Bethune getting that phone call and having an opportunity to talk to John Lynch and then his head coach and others there, and then you hear him start to break down towards the end of that when he's talking to the linebacker coach. I was so happy for him because that's a guy, I did not think would get drafted. And, he gets drafted in the 7th round. He's a guy that's played so much football. I mean, just a lot of football. And I've always appreciated that while there were aspects of his game that I thought were limited, it's one of the reasons that, he had to play as much college football as he did and went in the 7th round. He is a pro's pro and a hard worker and a tough SOB. The dude has played through a lot of pretty nagging injuries, and go to that game in the ACC championship right where I was in the box I was in. You could see he hurt his knee very early on, and I remember thinking, this is not good. I was talking with Ingram in the moment. I'm like, do you see that? He said, yeah, he just went into the tent, came out, he was hurting. And it's later in that game that he gets the pick in the end zone, and he's still making plays because he's tough as can be, and he's smart. He's had to get by sort of guts, guile, intelligence, right? That's what, because he's not a physical freak. So he's had to get by with that. I like to see guys like that who work that hard get rewarded. Good for him. Yeah, good for all those guys. But that was a really cool moment. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
News now.
A murder suspect who led local law enforcement on a lengthy manhunt in Gadsden County Wednesday has now been apprehended. Reginald Smith was wanted in connection to a deadly stabbing and 2 fires. The sheriff's office believed the 2 fires served as a distraction. He's accused of killing a man who was said to be his cousin at a home on Liberty Road in the Sawdust community late Wednesday morning. Smith was captured Thursday morning as he tried to make his way to his brother's house, which is about a quarter mile from the command post in Sawdust. GCSO extend their gratitude to all the agencies who assisted in the investigation. The North Florida search team is adding horseback missions to its roster. They are forming a mounted unit where volunteers will be using their own horses on missions when the call comes in. The group is currently working out all the kinks, but they said they are excited for the launch of the mounted search and rescue unit. The North Florida search team also has cadaver and live find dogs, along with several drone operators. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Partly cloudy this afternoon with highs around 86. Winds out of the south 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies develop with fog at times. Tonight, lows level off around 63. Partly cloudy skies with fog early tomorrow. Chance for storms. Highs around 86. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 80.
Did you know metal roofs' survivability far exceeds that of traditional shingle roofs? It's time to consider a metal roof from Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee. We provide the best quality, least expensive material and accessories in the area, as well as material pickup and delivery. Our painted panels qualify for the City of Tallahassee's low-interest Energy Star loan program also. And don't forget about our veteran law enforcement discount. Give Metal Roofing Sales a call today at 536-9123, 536-9123.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yeah,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And, I've
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world, Jeff. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
So the baseball team does go on the road and get the series victory it needed against Duke. And I want to continue to point something out here, that they're winning and they're finding a way. Even in the series that they lose, they'll pick off a game here or there to kind of tread water. This series they do win on the road, which is significant, continues to help the RPI and keep them in contention for a top 8 national seed. They have a huge series coming up this weekend against NC State as they roll into town. And again, the reason I'm bringing any of this up is that Florida State is still without 2 of their weekend starters. And what it does to the rotation and how difficult it makes things in regards to, certainly you saw what happened yesterday. I mean, they're out of pitching by the time they get to Sunday. So you got to win those first 2 games. But look at a guy like Dorsey, who continues to prove that he's going to long-term be pretty special. He had a final line, if you go back and look, 6 innings pitched. He gave up 7 hits, 1 walk, 8 Ks, only the 2 runs, threw over 100 pitches. This has been a guy that has had to do it in long relief, has had to do it out of the pen in crucial situations with runners in scoring position. He's been a guy that's been asked to start. He's done a little bit of everything, and he's handled it very, very well. If you think about just his starts alone, he's been very, very good. And then for Abraham, I thought coming into that game with a situation where it felt like, oh, here we go again. He gets the second out, induces that pop-up, and then he gets the weak line drive to second to end the game. I thought that was absolutely huge for Florida State, and I didn't care what happened yesterday. I wanted to win. Everybody wants to win. You're playing the games. You want to win. But once they got the great effort in the Friday game and the following day, they get the great win, nail-biter as it was, on Saturday, you thought, let Sunday happens, whatever it is, we're good to go. We won that series. I would have thought would have seen Ben Barrett, did not over the weekend, was kind of wondering when that was going to. Oh wait, actually we did see. That's right. But I thought we were going to extend him further, and probably that's, you know what, maybe moving ahead. Probably going to do that this upcoming weekend as they continue to add to his workload, because 20 pitches, whatever that is, 30 pitches, I think it was max, is what they wanted to get to. He obviously can play a much more significant role from the right side for them if he's able to do more. And I suppose there's going to be a turn for the other 2 when they come back, Leiter and Whitaker, because we keep hearing they are. How long will it take them to get up to speed as well?
This gets fun. You're starting to see where those arms slot. This is the thing you keep saying, is when you get everybody healthy, you can slot everybody back into a better role. I wonder if Carson Dorsey isn't just is your third. I wonder if he's not. You're going to have to fight a battle. It's a good one when everybody gets healthy of who do you want to be your long guy or your setup man twice in a weekend series when it really matters, or 2 times in 3 days in the ACC baseball tournament, or 2 times in a traditional regional where you got 4 teams and now you're in the winner's bracket. Dorsey does pitch well in those situations, but I mean, again, this was nails on Saturday. This was a very important win for Florida State in a big setting, and he was up to the task. I think you might want to reward him with perhaps a start in those situations. And if that's the case, then Whitaker or Barrett can slot back and be an emergency arm in case you got to go stretch in a regional because you drop a game, or they could be somebody who's available twice out of the bullpen. Oxford, I thought, was awesome, obviously, on Friday night. So you've got, if everybody is back, the collection of arms behind Arnold, you've got about 4 or 5 that you really trust, and then some dudes with stuff that you can put out there in spots. And maybe it's just for a third of an inning, or because the lineup is staggered with back-to-back lefties or back-to-back righties. Right. And it is coming together. It's not perfect.
No.
But you can see the finish line where they've got more options that don't have you biting your fingernails, that your season can be over because we have no options. It's not just the Clemson roadie anymore. The Wake roadie, even though it was a doubleheader the second day and it limited your options, we do have those visions about we can't throw strikes. And I think that's always going to give us a little bit of trepidation as we continue on in May, which is the big month of the year. But it looks like they're going to have about a half dozen pitchers that they can trust when push comes to shove at the end of this month.
If you get everybody back, some of those arms that cannot throw strikes at this stage of their young career will not be asked to do much of anything other than pitching a blowout. Like if you're up 20-0 in the 6th, okay, let's bring in a couple of these guys that have had a hard time. We can withstand the wildness in this moment. But really, getting everybody back where they're supposed to be, and they have been able to, kind of identify people who can handle these situations. I mean, there are a couple of these guys that I don't think envisioned having to pitch that have kind of figured it out and been pretty good. Not consistently great, but have had their fair share of moments where you thought, okay, in a pinch, we could go here. And yeah, look at the way the schedule's working out. I was just going to bring this up, Tony. Great point. No midweek game this week. They actually had an effing normal weekend series, a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday. Okay. We were not moving things up to Thursday for television. We're not condensing this to a doubleheader. None of that nonsense. We had it all kind of worked out nice. Everybody gets plenty of rest this week before you have a huge series against NC State. Let's hope certainly you can take 2 out of 3 at home against NC State, if not sweep. You're right where you want to be. I just don't know what the timetable is at this point as to when you get everybody back. When, let's say they clear Leiter to pitch now. Let's just say while we're on the show, they're like, yep, Leiter's a go. How soon can you stretch him out? How soon till he goes more than an inning or 2?
And then what day do you pitch him? I don't think you can give him Friday anymore. Sorry. No. I know you typically the adage is that you don't lose your spot because of injury, but
screw that. You can lose your spot.
Yeah, and he's had issues. He's had control issues. I mean, his ERA is in the 4s for a reason. So I don't think he's your Friday guy anymore. And do you pitch him on Saturday? And because sometimes the implications of a guy like that who can be a little bit wild or is coming off of an injury, you want to pair him with somebody else. If it goes bad with my starter, who I'm trying to lengthen or maybe sometimes has been inconsistent, I have X pitcher to go with him who can pitch 2 or 3 innings or 4 innings if he really needs to. I think you might want to start him at Sunday as he ramps up and allow Arnold and Dorsey to be your 1 and your 2. And if you've got enough time. Now, time is not of the essence just yet.
We're getting there.
In about 2 weeks, time is most certainly of the essence.
Well, that's what I mean. How quickly do we start to see them eating meaningful innings and to a point where you feel comfortable in a big series, a postseason series, where you could say, all right, we've got them back. They've been lengthened to 70, 80, now 90, 100 pitches. I know I can start him here. I mean, you can figure out whether you want to start him on a Saturday or Sunday, but you got to get to a place where he can even do that. And I would suggest they're not going to be close right when they come back. Now, I know they're throwing, so we'll see. I mean, you're trying to build them up out of the public eye right now, getting them back up. But man, how quickly would you feel comfortable in a big ACC tournament game, or certainly even obviously a regional game, letting them pitch to that end? Can they give you 5?
Yeah, I think that's probably a question for Coach Posey as we go down the stretch here. Is how many guys can you pitch 2 out of 3 days, a Friday, a Sunday? If, say, Brennan Oxford pitches, he throws 40 pitches on a Friday. Is he available on Sunday? Like, what is the policy here? I know as you get to regionals, it's all hands on deck, and so you break some of those rules that you would have for the regular season. But I think that helps answer the question. Like, if I'm trying to put together a weekend rotation and Cam is back, I'm thinking Arnold Oxford as 1 and 2 on Friday. Dorsey Saturday, we'll figure it out. But then I want my best setup man, or my best long man, to be available on Sunday in case it goes bad, as my guy's trying to ramp up. And, it would be nice if Whitaker or Barrett are lengthened at that point as well, because then you could basically, it's like a tryout for who your rotation is going to be in the postseason. But you want to get those things started here pretty soon. It's a big weekend series. I know NC State's number 20 in the RPI. They're 30th in the Boyd's World or top 30 in Boyd's World ISR. If you get 2 out of 3 this weekend again, I mean, you really are staring a top 8 national seed in the face.
Yes, you are.
Mission accomplished by going 3-3 on these last 2 road series.
Well, we looked at that series, and I said to you when we were talking on Thursday or whenever that was last week, and we both kind of said, like, man, people talk about wanting to win these series, and you brought up at some point you have to win one of these series, and I agreed it would be nice, and certainly you want to, in order to maintain your spot, be able to do that. But I thought it wouldn't be the end of the world as long as you didn't get swept, because I knew we were treading water. Like, they're just treading water, man. They just got to try to find a way to limp this thing across the finish line of the regular season and have all their pitchers back. Because to me, yes, top 8 national would be great. We want to host. It'd be fun. But I think they got a chance to beat anybody, anywhere, at any time if they have all their arms. So to me, that was the ultimate goal. Just find a way not to fall off a cliff. And while they were hovering around 500 in this little 6 to, if you want to extend it out to 9-game stretch, 10-game stretch, I was kind of like, well, if you go 5-5 over 10 or 4-6, you'll be all right. Just get your guys back.
Yeah, that would be probably a top 16. You're hosting a regional, and that's all fine. I'm just greedy. I'm greedy. Well, I do believe in college baseball, an atmosphere like Hauser can make a difference. I do. In Major League Baseball, it doesn't. Except for the one time the Pirates, who were they heckling? Was it a Dodger pitcher? Who were they heckling?
It was the Reds in the playoffs. It was what's his face who had the dreads.
Cueto?
Yes, Johnny Cueto.
Yeah. So that aside, you really don't see that too often in a Major League Baseball setting. But it happens
for nerves, and then he gave up a home run.
Yes, exactly. That happens all the time in college baseball. So I am greedy, and we're here. So since we're here, and I'm talking about teleporting back to last Thursday, we have an opportunity here to go on the road, take 2 out of 3 from Duke,
and we did.
Come back home and mash. I mean, look, Tibbs hit a home run yesterday. He's closing in on 20. That's all well and good, but he hasn't exactly been red hot. So if he ratchets it back up here in this last month,
yeah, it's going to happen, right?
No, sure. I'm not. This is not a criticism. It's just saying that the guy we had the first 6 weeks of the season, he's cooled off a little bit. You get that bat hot again as these arms go. Obviously, they've got 4 dudes, I think, that are opting over 1,000 at this point. Dinges has been awesome. Ferrer's got 14 home runs.
Dinges has been incredible. And doesn't he have – why? It's amazing. I know it just is happenstance. Also speaks to the lengthening of your lineup and guys getting on base. My man is not prone to the solo shot. He is prone to get you some. Here's a grand slam. Here's a 3-run bomb for that ass. Here's a game-changing moment for my home run. He doesn't fool around. Not knocking people who hit solo home runs. I mean, Ferrer hits a million of them, and they're important. They're important. But it's really a byproduct of where they are in the lineup and how often people get on base.
There was a time where A-Rod was a specialist in an 8-2 ball game of hitting.
He would hit an 8th-inning home run down 10. He would do it, wouldn't he?
or up 10. Either way, you're like, there you go. There's your 10th of the season when the score's out of reach one way or the other.
Yeah.
Great job getting a 30, though, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, Dinges is funny, though, man. When he comes up and there are ducks on the pond, I'm like, ooh, here we go. The moment's big. This is going to happen. And he's not bashful about being an a-hole after he hits him. I mean, it's gonna take 25, 35 seconds to get around those bases. There's a whole sort of sign language conversation going on with the bench as he gets to first about an hour after he hit the home run. There's the screaming at the outfield. By the way, who's everybody pointing to out in the outfield when they hit the home run? Are they pointing to the outfielder? Are they saying suck it as they round first base? If they hit one out to right center and they do the point, your parents aren't out in right center. There's no stands out there. Your parents aren't out there. You're pointing at who? The dude that ran down and got the ball? Who are you pointing to?
They're pointing at Terrence Mann, who just walked through the cornfields. That's who they're pointing at. People will come, Ray. Saying, what's up, Terrence? That one is for you and for the Holy of Holies.
I'm always laughing. I'm like, who the hell are you pointing at? I think you're really telling them to go to hell is what you're doing. You're pointing at that right fielder who ran to the fence and had to look up and said dong. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV.
Attention, Florida. Are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Leaka Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Leaka Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Leaka Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLeakaLawFirm.com. Hyson Leaka Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Chance to consult with one of our design representatives to curate the perfect space to fit your home and lifestyle. Visit Tallahassee Lighting and Decor today. Proud sponsor of Patty's Playhouse, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Find out more at tallylighting.com. That's tallylighting.com.
The annual Shakespeare in the Park Festival at Cascades Park is right around the corner. On May 9th through 12th, the Southern Shakespeare Company is proud to present The Winter's Tale, a comedy that charts one royal family's journey of redemption. Main stage performances will begin at 7:30 p.m., but come early to enjoy vendors and food trucks on location. Join the fun with free admission for all ages. It's the Shakespeare in the Park Festival, May 9th through 12th at Cascades Park. For more information, visit southernshakespearefestival.org.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Ryan Pepio on the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays today. Minus 105, a slight underdog at American Family Field in Milwaukee against the Brewers. Bryce Wilson for the Brewers, they're minus 115, 8.5 over the total. Max Fried to the mound for the Braves, $1.55 road favorite at Seattle, plus 130 at T-Mobile Park. Tampa Bay Lightning plus 150 at the Florida Panthers today. Florida up 3 games to 1 of the series. At $1.80 home ice favorite, 6.5 under the total. Fierceness, the 5-2 morning line favorite with the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. The draws a winless 17th post. Free betting splits available at vsin.com/splits. For more sports betting news and information, go to vsin.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Join Macy's and Trust for Public Land to bring more parks to more people across the country now during Earth Month. Throughout April, you can help turn vacant schoolyards into vibrant parks. Just donate online to Trust for Public Land or round up your Macy's store purchase up to 99 cents and donate the extra change. Give back today and find out how we're helping people in the planet thrive together at Macy's.com/purpose.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick. Professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
Not only does Swain Pools and Spas sell the best selection of hot tubs and spas in the city, but Swain also builds, services, renovates, restores in-ground pools. Is your pool ready for the summer season? Ask about our scheduled maintenance plans to ensure your pool is always clean, balanced, and ready for a swim. Does your pool have a leak, broken heater, or maybe needs some restoration? Is your pool showing its age and needs a facelift? Our renovation crew specializes in applying the latest modern techniques to transform your old pool into the oasis you always wanted. Swain Pools and Spas is Tallahassee's premier pool everything store. Call us today and we can answer all your questions. 850-386-7113. That's 386-7113. Or contact us online at swainpools.com.
And right next to Swain Pools and Spas is Tallahassee Car Care, the only repair shop where you can take a dip while we repair your whip.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5.
One after the other, reason to celebrate again, and we got into going into next season a little bit. Talked a little bit about where we think that's going to be. Tom, we've been requested. It's been asked of us here real soon. We'll have to do it maybe first week in May because it's coming up. We got to do a W's and L's.
Yeah, agreed. We have to come to an understanding of what the cutoff will be for the portal because this is a deadline tomorrow to enter your name, but then you can take obviously some time to make your decision about where you're going. So in theory, Florida State could not know what the totality of their additions are going to be for some time. So we've got to pick a day and just say, let's go ahead with it. And if there is a drastic change, a Keon Coleman type player at any position shows up, perhaps we can revisit the W's and L's.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we should wait until we know for sure what the hell is what. I mean, it is a big deal. I mean, I don't want to give an empty gesture of a W's and L's, even though we're not necessarily held to those W's and L's, depending the time of year that we give them. We have always reserved the right to change our mind based on a loss, a depletion of players, an injury, or something like that, or the influx now in the modern era of transfers that help change a segment group or projections at a position. So, it's going to be tough. I mean, it was so weird celebrating each moment that a Florida State player's name was announced as having been selected in the NFL draft. I all at once would smile and say, awesome, it's about time. We're back. Look at this. This is now a place where I think Corey brought this point up in his piece and on warchant.com, and he's right. It's further affirmation that things have gone the right way for Mike Norvell and his coaching staff. Obviously, the wins on the field are the first thing you're going to look at. But, sitting across from a kid in high school now, you really can say, look, this is what we do. We win a whole lot of games, and we send you to the NFL. And I think it's important if you have a lot of portal players and you're trying to see this crossover into success with the high school ranks, some of those portal players, have got to publicly give credit to the development they received once they transferred to Florida State. And that's happened. Very few have been shy about that. Now, I'm not saying, look, did Ron Dugans do anything for Keon Coleman in terms of him getting drafted in the second round? No, Keon was a ready-made product when he got here. Keon was already a stud in the Big Ten, and he did it at a far weaker offense, and he got here, and he was immediately successful, as you knew he would be. So I'm not trying to go out on a limb and say, well, he got here, and Ron changed the way he did this and that. No, I'm not saying that. But there are guys that there's no question learned something about both technique and responsibility and all of these kinds of, the key words we hear about great leadership and all that other stuff. Jermaine Johnson talked about that at length, and he was here 1 year. Jared Verse has talked about that, how quickly he learned, first of all, how to be much more effective with his hands. That's a very specific thing. He learned about technique and talking with Papuchis right off the bat. He said it in my interview that the first week that he was here, he learned a ton. He wasn't trying to take shots at the folks at Albany, but he knew he had taken a huge step up, and then it certainly helped that he and Josh Storms really had a great relationship in the weight room. And you look at the way his body developed and how much stronger he got by the time he left here, how much weight he put on. That's all part of it. That's a program. That's a program developing a player who had a lot of talent, There's no getting around that. But you need those guys, especially the ones who came in here who have really accomplished not much of anything before they got here. I mean, look, Johnny Wilson didn't do a damn thing at Arizona State. 20-something yards? Is that right? He hadn't done anything. So I know he got drafted in the 6th round, and somebody might say, well, I mean, how great. Well, listen, that was a guy who wasn't being utilized in any way, shape, or form in his previous stop. Yeah, he had a problem with the drops, but he became a much better receiver in his time here and much more consistent too. And to that end about the drops, he was better this past year. Now, he missed a couple of games due to injury, and he had the one nightmarish game, I think it was the Southern Miss game, where he dropped everything. But from that point forward in the year, Tom, when he played, he was reliable. He made most of the catches you were supposed to make by the end of last year.
Yeah, that's one of the frustrating things about his injury was there were more hands catches away from his body, going and plucking the ball out of the air. You saw like those little extra fundamentals that would show up on a third and gotta have it the previous season when he would make catches in big moments. The Florida game was a great example of Johnny's the earlier part of his career. And I'm talking about the Florida game at home where Jordan Travis puts the team on his back. But Johnny, a couple of big drops early, but then when you have to have a play along the left sideline, he goes and makes a ridiculously difficult catch. That's kind of who he was. Last year, I thought it was different. I did. Southern Miss was a rough night, no doubt about it.
Tough night, yeah.
But from that point forward, before he got injured, I thought he was more aggressive through traffic. I thought he was more trusting of going away from his body and not trying to cradle the ball, but going and getting the ball and plucking it out of the air. It's just, this could be, I'm not saying that he would be the best player out of Florida State's draft class, 10 players drafted, but this could be the best value of anybody who was drafted this weekend amongst the Noles. Johnny Wilson, if it's that version of him that goes and plays for Philly, and he's not commanding any double teams. They're too loaded at other positions. They're also very, very good at running back. That's their style. So there'll be play action situations. He'll be blocking for a diminutive receiver on the perimeter. That could really work out. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'm thrilled with where I got that dude, because if it doesn't work out, it's
no big deal. You pick
no sweat.
6th round pick. Yeah. A lot of 6th rounders don't make it. No big deal. We're certainly rooting for them. I think everybody else kind of went where we thought they'd go. There were some surprises to the good, very few surprises to the bad. Very few. I thought that was a tough one for Johnny. Kalen DeLoach, I thought would have gotten drafted after the 40 time that he ran. The fact that didn't happen was kind of surprising, but opportunity, as you said, down in Tampa to maybe make something happen, and I wish him well. Everybody else, that they kind of went about where we thought they would. Braden Fisk included, Keon Coleman included. We said late first, early second for Keon. He ended up being first off the board in the second round. Good for him. Good spot. Braden Fisk shortly thereafter. That worked out what? We said Jared Verse seemed like a top 20 pick. Turned out he was a top 20 pick. Went 19th. Went well. We were really, really impressed by everything that had happened in the postseason workouts for Jerrion Jones, who really ran an incredible time. He measured well. Everything about him, you thought, okay, he'll get drafted pretty high. He did. Renardo Green, as the season went on, we continued to talk about, man, he is wildly consistent, very physical, looks healthy. Teams are going to be excited about him. They were. So really, this all kind of went according to plan. And now you go into next season and you realize that, man, that's a lot to replace, but you feel like you have a lot of guys that will. And I will say this, I agree with Ira on this. The depth of talent on this team means that you're likely looking at double-digit draft choices again next season. I think it stands to reason. I think there's a very good chance that that's true.
I agree. There is a really good chance that happens. And also, I think their productivity will be higher, in a lot of different positions this year. I'm not saying that they're going to put up Jared Verse numbers or Braden Fisk numbers. What I'm saying is per snap, per capita, if you will, the productivity on the defensive line should be pretty high at defensive end because of the rotation that you can employ. The drop-off between first team and second team, we've discussed this. It's no disrespect to the Gilbert Edmonds of the world, but I think your fourth defensive end situation at Florida State this year is far better. And so if you're going to go with a 50-30 distribution in an 80 snap count game, you feel a hell of a lot better about that now this year than last. I think you can extend that to the cornerback position this year for Florida State too. If Azarie needs a breather for a few plays, I think you feel okay about it. It's not that you want him to come off the field, but you've got other options. Ditto for slot corner. We're hopeful that there's an option at center field at safety for us in that particular position, but you've got quite a few positions like that this year. Running back is another great example of it, where you're going to get a lot of production because guys can go, it's almost like a bullpen arm in baseball. They can go max because you have the depth to fall back on. I don't need you to worry about pacing yourself for 20 touches if you're a running back here. Give me the best 8 to 12 you got, because we've got 4 other dudes that I very much like and I'm going to employ for different situations.
Yeah, and if you're somebody at home listening and saying, okay, who are you identifying as guys that have a chance to get drafted? And we're just talking about drafted, anywhere in the draft. Well, I mean, goodness gracious, Darius Washington will get drafted at some point. Malik Benson will get drafted. DJ Uiagalelei will get drafted. DJ Lundy will probably get drafted. Will Lahea will get drafted. Fintrell Cypress is going to get drafted. Azareye'h Thomas, aforementioned that you just talked about, will get drafted. Patrick Payton will get drafted. Daryl Jackson will get drafted. Josh Farmer will get – see where we're going here? I mean, on and on and on we go. And that's just like, okay, thinking back, like that guy will get drafted. He'll get drafted. That's a lot. That is a lot. Now, then it'll be interesting to see what we project the following season. If you have 20-plus players go to the league in 2 years, there may be a drop-off. There may be a slight drop-off.
Hey, guess what? We'll need the portal again, and we'll need it in a much more prolific way. But a lot of those guys you named are portal guys in the last year or two, and they're solutions that we really very much like. The secondary, I think you can absorb what you're going to lose. It doesn't mean that you're going to be better in 2025. It just, you can absorb it. You got some options. Defensive line, they're going to have to dip quite heavily. Defensive end specifically, unless they can break the budget, so to speak, at the battle's end and retain somebody like a Marvin Jones Jr. Let's just say he has a great year. Well, he's got a decision to make at that point. So they're going to have a couple of key conversations as we get into that next year. But that defensive front could potentially produce 5 to 6 draft picks this upcoming year. Because we're figuring that they're going to bring somebody else in for defensive interior that's going to be a top 3, top 4 rotational guy. Maybe it's a younger player, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's a player in his final go.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that. A couple of Michigan State defensive linemen, Tom, that possibly will, one of, if not both. Wouldn't that be cool? It's something to think about. I'm still leaning towards just one of. I'm not saying both. I saw the look. I know you're thinking that I'm leaving hints. I'm not giving breadcrumbs here. I'm just saying everybody knows we're going after that guy.
Hey, look, people are right, including me, to say, hey, is he leaving breadcrumbs? You know?
Yeah, I have in the past, but today's not that day. I'm just saying we know we're after those two guys, and so just saying something to look at there. Tried and True Consulting is a payments and business solutions company owned by fellow Noles. That's a good thing. As a Noles business owner, they're committed to reducing costs and increasing your bottom line. By the way, Tried and True Consulting give back 10% of their net revenue to the battle's end. Hit the trifecta today. Scan that QR code you see on your screen or call Alumni's Don or Joe at 844-464-6653. That's 844-I'm4Nole. Go Tried and True today. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
What happened to you? You're walking so crooked.
Well, I was walking my alligator and I tripped on a cypress knee and I spilled my margarita.
Oh my gosh, your margarita.
Yeah, I blown my back completely out. I had to ride the alligator home. I don't know what to do. My back's killing me.
You're such a poor man. You should know you should go to Finn Chiropractic.
Really?
You can go to their website and book an appointment and get you in as soon as possible. Go to finnchiro.com, FENNCHIRO.com.
You mean 24 hours a day I can make my appointment online and pay for it?
Yep, right on their website.
Wow, and it's discounted?
Yeah.
All right, that's what Florida man needs to do.
No lines, no waiting. Visit FENNChiro.com to book your next appointment with a discount. FENNCHIRO.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com. It's Fenn Chiropractic, where the chiropractors love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Hold my beer. I'm going to Finn Chiropractic.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball,
Your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com.
Progressive presents Flo and Jamie announcing a monster truck rally.
And here comes the obliterator.
Whoa! And he's up on two wheels. That can't be safe.
I don't recommend flipping your car backwards.
Did he even check his blind spot?
And the car's on fire.
I definitely don't recommend that.
This is one of my recurring nightmares.
Progressive is all about keeping it safe, so bundle your home and auto for 24/7 protection. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Coverage not provided for monster trucks. Not available in all states.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Jeff Cameron Show rolling on. Ira Schafel will be set to join us in just a little bit. We'll bring him on and talk about his 3-2-1, talk about what Florida State just accomplished, and look ahead, too, as well. We do have Seminole headlines set for tomorrow. I look forward to it as well. Tom, did you have a good time in San Francisco, buddy? I know, given the circumstances, good time is probably not the right word, but away from the reason you were there, did you enjoy the ballpark?
I did, yeah. It was, some tough moments this weekend, but we did get a chance to catch 2 games. We actually snuck back out there yesterday.
Oh, you bastard. Okay, look at you. You got to go to 2. Got to see my Pirates lose again.
Yeah, no, there was no fog, no marine layer. So we stayed with a local who lives in an apartment / condo literally next to Oracle Park. Their back deck looks at the left field scoreboard, and you hear them, testing stuff and playing music beforehand in the morning. You hear the batting practice. You can hear the sounds of the bat hitting the ball. So you're right there. And the flight wasn't until 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 a.m. Eastern this morning. So it's a 1 o'clock start. Let's go. Let's go to the ballpark. And we sat in section 202, buddy, which is the club level all the way on the cove.
Yeah.
So all you see is the beauty of the Bay, NoCal, and you're watching Pirates baseball. I know that Jared Jones didn't pitch so hot yesterday, but I saw the 2 home runs right from my vantage point and extra innings on Saturday night. It was a really cool series to watch.
Yeah. We lost, 3-2 yesterday? Couldn't score any runs. That's
yeah, it was 3-2 or 4-3. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't score many runs these days. Don't score many runs these days out in Pittsburgh. So at least you got to see that ballpark and those uniforms.
And you're right. There was once a game where they make a defensive mistake of just preposterous college baseball level proportions.
Cataclysmic silliness happens all the time. That's all right. It's we're only 1 game under 500. We'll see. It's a little frustrating between the injuries. The reason I asked you is on this show over the years, we care about baseball parks, and we've been to a million baseball parks between us, almost all of them. And I've been to that park, and it's awesome. I got to tell you, I like PNC more. That's just me. But and that's not because I'm a Pirates fan, but I do love that park. It's probably my second favorite park.
It is everything that people say it is. And we had excellent seats, first row next to the Giants dugout on night 1. My wife loves to, when she goes to a venue, specifically a baseball park, first time, she shells out. Like, that's usually me. I'm usually the splurger in the marriage. But we got first row, third baseline. Matt Williams was standing right in front of us, the third base coach for the Giants. He does the thing that Meat and 11 used to do, where he puts both hands on his cheeks and his
No,
baseball
cheeks while he waits.
And then the second day we decided to have the Bayview seats. We also got lucky, dude. I mean, it was 65, not terribly windy yesterday, which for San Francisco is really warm.
Usually cold. Usually cold.
Got to see two very good uniforms and two hotly contested ball games. Love extra innings. Extra innings is always good. And both of those games, I think, totaled under 5 hours. Yeah, under 5 hours combined. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's a good time. It's a good time. Well, they get him in now these days. It's funny. Anybody you talk to who's a baseball fan or who had been one and then waned, kind of came back last year and they're still rolling this year. It's like that. The pitch clock thing worked out for everybody. Let's go. Let's keep it moving here. And I do like the erroneous complaints that pitch clock is causing problems for pitchers when in fact, again, we can find empirical data that says there were more injuries before that. So I don't want to hear that nonsense. You guys fall back on that if you want, but it's been a good thing for the game. So I'm good. You like the park. That's good. Is you've never been to PNC, so you don't know. You've been. Is this number one on your list now?
Probably so. I hate to say it, Truist is an excellent ballpark, but it's a lot because of the pregame. They've got the battery there.
Awesome. Yeah, the battery's awesome, but the park itself is just whatever.
It's intimate. I like that. And, PNC Oracle, I should say, kind of helped start that a little bit. You're right on top of the action. It has to be, dude. I mean, like they had a boat out in right field yesterday, deadheads rolling up, playing dead music, and they were getting after it pretty hard. And you could hear it in the ballpark loud and clear. San Francisco is a strange place, but I got to tell you, it wasn't as rampant with issues like I've heard. Now it looked like downtown Tampa. You did have some tough spots, but it wasn't terrible. It was a nice place.
Went by Hatters for you, buddy. There you go. I made it in and did the right thing. Ended up having the deliciousness that is their wings and all the vibes. And you know who was there? The whole Lebatard crew was there hanging out, and we were all hanging out right in the seats next to each other.
Oh, really?
Not talking. I didn't care. I didn't say a word to them.
I'm glad they went home pissed off. I mean, that first period was something to see. I wish we had a little bit more of that, but way to bring home a victory. Way to not get swept. Thank you very much. In this rivalry that's budding, it's not really one yet because they haven't beat us in the playoff series. They're about to probably, but we swept them. They have never swept us.
I said that. You never put me down, Ray. You never put me down. That's what I said. I said it loud enough to make sure everybody heard it. I'm like, well, we know one team has swept the other before, and we know one that hasn't. So there you go. That's where we're at with this one. I thought I was going to go watch the very end of an era. Instead, I got to see it prolonged, which was really nice. And by the way, made a lot of money on the Stanley Cup playoffs so far in the wagering. This has been good. A lot of going through for everybody. I know people I don't want to get bogged down in gambling talk here before we bring Ira in, but I would say that I have been able to correctly identify, because like, for example, I had Stamkos over goal and a half, or actually a point and a half. And so that was, the guys we say about baseball players that over time, if you get enough literally at bats, you kind of play to your baseball card. That's who you are typically. If you get enough at bats, obviously in small sample sizes, you can have players, legendary players who come up weak, who come up and go on an unfortunate 2 for 20 streak because you're facing a really good team. If you're in the playoffs, somebody who's probably got a great frontline pitcher, it's very easy to have a rough go. But if you stretch that out over a lot of innings and many at bats, then, you start playing to your back of your card, although there are exceptions. Obviously, we've seen that with Big Papi and others where, for whatever reason, they hit like 600 in the postseason. But it's true now, I'm noticing, especially as an avid sporting guy, you do the same thing with star hockey players who haven't fallen off a cliff like Ovechkin. Thanks for the 0 points in 4 games in that series. From 0, not a point.
Yeah, so specialty plays are the plays in the playoffs right now, because if you're trying to play like the Sharps do, you're taking a bit of a bath. On my straight trends, outside of goal totals, I've been pretty good with totals. But the first round, generally speaking, gives you 6 and 7 game series and upsets galore. It's been a lot of chalk. There isn't a 2-2 series in the first round of the NHL playoffs. There could be tonight because Dallas series is taking forever. I don't know why, but no other series of the 8 is in a 2-2 scenario. That is extremely rare.
You
And
have a 4-0, a 3-1, another
Yeah.
3-1, another 3-1. Yeah, we've seen a lot of it.
It's a lot of chalk going on right now, which is much more NBA first round than Stanley Cup first round. But hey, that's why an outlier is an outlier.
He's here. Let's bring him in, my man. Irash Fell, Warchant.com, joins us on the Jeff Cameron Show, as he's wont to do on Mondays. Hey, Ira, how are you, brother?
I'm great. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm well, man. Enjoyed the 3-2-1 as always. And I think for a lot of people, going back through and reliving this weekend and really Thursday through Sunday and looking at all the names and all the kids that are a part of this big turnaround for Florida State, well, that was joyous because just one player drafted a year ago. Now you see a bevy of Noles go. And as you pointed out at the end of 3-2-1, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, I referenced it earlier, Florida State probably has a ton more going next year, whether it's DJ, whether it's Benson, Ventrell Cypress, Desiree Thomas, Patrick Payton, Daryl Jackson, Josh Farmer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to be a back-to-back run here, which can only further bolster Florida State's reputation in the high school ranks, which is something they're trying to marry with their elite level, obviously, recruiting of the portal.
Yeah, and I think you'll see some of those guys who were kind of homegrown that were in the program the whole time. Darius Washington and Azaria Thomas, as you said, maybe Shaheem Brown if he comes out next year, Josh Farmer. Those are guys that have been here their entire career. So yeah, I think that'll be a positive. I think that was one thing. If you were looking to detract from Florida State or Mike Norvell, you could say, oh well, 9 of those 10 guys that got drafted were transfers, and you might have a couple of situations where guys really were just here for 1 year. Keon Coleman and Braden Fisk at the top of the list. But for the most part, even those guys who transferred and got drafted had been here for 3 or 4 years. I mean, so it's not like they were just 1 year rentals. But I also thought one other cool thing about it, and I didn't touch about it in my column, but just thinking about it, I also thought it was good that the vast majority of them I went to really good teams and good situations.
Good situations, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like there might be years in the past where guys would get, when the Browns were awful and they get drafted by the Browns and you knew they were due to just have a miserable time because they were good. But a lot of these guys were drafted in good situations and really good teams. And I think that's a sign of good front offices that did good evaluations to pick these guys.
Yeah, man, and you really can't beat having, at least from a PR standpoint, I mean, you can't beat some of basically the footage that's been retweeted or posted on Instagram or on websites across America, the Braden Fisk situation with Jared Verse. And of course, Keon Coleman was funny in his press conference with Buffalo. And you going through all this stuff, all the guys, every one of them, like, this is awesome for Florida State. Every one of these guys, and Jordan Travis getting choked up. It was cool.
Very, very likable. All those guys very likable, and you can kind of get a feel, I think, for why that team was so likable for Florida State fans anyway. And then the other part of it, I think, even a guy like even some of the guys that went late, or went later than they thought they were going to go. Prime example, Tatum Bethune. I think, I'm not sure if he knew he was going to get drafted, but usually guys aren't thrilled to be 7th round draft picks.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just to hear how much gratitude he had, and again, this is a guy that, 3 years ago when he was at UCF and had 100 tackles, he might have thought, oh, I'm going to be in the NFL in a year or two. Well, that's not where things went, and all those guys. I mean, really, all of these stories are stories other than Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's the only 3 and out guy, but everybody else on that list are guys that were in college for 4, 5, 6 years. Nobody signs on signing day. They haven't for a long time and said, I'm going to spend my next 4 or 5 years in school. So I'm going to spend my next 3 years at this school. And so all these guys had to persevere. And I think it's just really cool to see that.
You did a good job of documenting that. But again, to refresh people's memories, I mean, Trey Benson came over after that horrible knee injury at Oregon. And you think about it, Mario Cristobal takes the job down in Miami and doesn't even really think about trying to bring Trey Benson down. Obviously, a lot of people steered clear of Trey Benson. He comes here. I remember, Ira, you and I saw him that first day he was out there. We were impressed with the physique, but the real question mark was going to be when they put the pads on, is he going to be able to take contact? He's a running back. Well, not only did he do that, as he built himself back up and began to trust it, we saw that world-class speed at that size, and then we really realized, oh, man, they've got a diamond in the rough here. And so that story is incredible. And then Jerrion Jones. I mean, Jerrion Jones was the subject of a lot of fan ire for some time when he was here, I got to admit. And nobody really thought, that first year in while he was here, that Jerrion Jones was going to amount to being a guy that then gets drafted as highly as he did. But what a great final season, and what a cool turn of events for him.
Dude, and there were times during these last few years, because we get to watch practice, there were times during these last few years where you wondered, okay, is it going to work out, for a guy like that? Or Bernardo Green is a guy, I think there was real conversations inside the program about his future. Just not that he was ever trouble or anything, but just they were having a hard time getting the most out of him and finding the right place for him. And it just wasn't, a seamless transition for some of those guys. And then, again, even like Fisk, and from the standpoint of, this is a guy that redshirted at Western Michigan, first year at Western Michigan. He's been in college 6 years. So he had to make a decision a year ago. Florida State kind of got lucky because he had that shoulder injury. So, but he decided he wanted to give one more year of college football, and it just, he bet on himself, and it turned out incredibly well. And, man, you just feel so good for all those guys. I mean, there's a couple other guys. Kalen DeLoach would have been nice to see get drafted. I think a lot of people are surprised Fabian Levitt didn't get drafted, but overall, I don't think you could have scripted a better day for Florida State.
Yeah, and everybody is, as you said, for the most part, pretty eminently likable, and people that Florida State fans will associate with this massive turnaround. It's funny because when I was saying this in the first hour, Ira, when the draft is concluded, it's like we put a ribbon on the previous season officially. Like college football, that college football campaign is done. And I think the reason for that is because we know the great players at Michigan. We know the great players at Alabama. We know the great players at Georgia. Obviously, we cover Florida State, follow Florida State, root for Florida State. We cover the great players that were there. And so what ends up happening is the next question, it's really the precursor to the next year, is, well, of all the teams that just had a slew of players get drafted, and finally Florida State's in that conversation. Now Florida State's alongside the best of the best in college football in producing talent. And we think they'll be there again next year. But always what comes with that is how well are you able to replenish the roster and sustain excellence? Because that's the other part about being great, is that those expectations are there year over year over year. So it's kind of interesting because I took a step back, and while I celebrated those names and we celebrated and what they represented, and we were happy for them individually, you do when you say their names out loud. And when I was reading your column on warchant.com, I thought the same thing. I'm like, man, if we just go through the list as he did it and include Keon Coleman in there, and again, for everybody, I'll do it right now. Keon Coleman, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Bernardo Green, Trey Benson, Jerrion Jones, Jordan Travis, Johnny Wilson, Tatum Bethune. Like when you start to do that, you go, whew, that's a lot to replenish.
Well, and I think, there's two things there. I was listening to a podcast, a national college football podcast. And they were talking about basically, saying that they thought Florida State was probably going to take a step back just because they lost so much talent. And that's fair for people to think that. It's just funny that, Florida State was in this weird position where people didn't probably appreciate how talented this team was, when they got snubbed from the playoff because Jordan Travis was hurt. And then we fast forwarded straight from, we don't know how talented this team is, to now how are they going to replace all those talented guys that just draft?
Yeah.
So it's like you got worse of both worlds. But what I've told people, and I know you're telling people, and anybody that's watching the program closely would say the same thing, is it's going to be different, but it's still super talented. What I'm more concerned about, honestly, is I looked at that draft. The takeaway I had was, I'm not worried about the talent. I think they've done a great job of replacing the talent. I think it's going to be there. I think, the culture is in place and all of that. What we don't know is just the relationship side, if it'll come together to the same degree. It'll be fine. I don't have any doubt that it's going to be fine. Like Mike Norvell and his staff and the players are going to make sure things are in good place. It's not going to be a cancerous locker room. You're not going to have problems that you might have had 5 years ago or 15 years ago. But when you look at that team and just the way Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, their conversation on the phone, and the way Tatum, and there was so much heart. Like there was so much heart in those guys that we still have to see. I can tell you that these guys on this team from watching the spring are very talented. They brought in a lot of really good football players. You can't measure heart, and I know that's a weird thing to talk about because you can't measure it. But that team that was all heart, and we have to see if this team is like that in 2024.
Well, and the other part of it is obviously each season is unto itself, right? It's a single year, and there are a way that personalities mesh. And the way that guys, work and sacrifice alongside one another and how hard they'll fight for one another. And even though, like you're pointing to, that they have a lot of guys who are very talented, guys that are also going to get drafted in the NFL, you don't know it will mesh exactly the same way with those personalities coming together to form a stronger group, right? And so you wonder if they're greater than the some of their parts. And I think this team was, even though they were really talented. So you have to be careful. You have to say, well, I don't want people to get the impression that we don't think they had a lot of talent. They did. The NFL just proved it. But they also had the marriage of that talent and the personalities coming together perfectly.
Right. And this team may have it. And given your choice, you'd much rather start with a really talented team and figure it out.
Yeah.
And Florida State's doing that. And there were years in the past where, man, it wouldn't have mattered how much they liked each other. They just didn't have the talent. Well, this team does. They have the talent. That's the hard part. Now it's up to them to really come together and achieve at the level that team did, because I think you can make a case that team did equal greater than some of the parts.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh, by the way, it was never any fun to have to come on the air and be like, I'll tell you something about these sorry 5 and 7 bitches. They love each other. They sure do love one.
Can't blame it on that. They can't run fast.
They love each other, and they're slow as dirt. It's unbelievable. I'll talk to you later, brother.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's Ira Chappelle, Warchant.com. He's the man, and we're running late for break. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
For local news now.
The effort to expand high-speed internet access statewide is getting a boost. More than $3.7 million of state and federal grants are heading to Liberty County to pay for 116 miles of fiber optic lines. This money is desperately needed in counties like Liberty because internet providers are not making investments on their own. Under many grant programs, providers have minimum speed requirements they need to meet to receive the grant money. The state awarded more than $223 million in state and federal money to communities across the state to help cover broadband projects in February. Florida State University students took over a portion of Landis Green Thursday for a demonstration calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The demonstration was organized by several groups which are seeking for Florida State to cut financial ties with Israel. Just a few feet away, about a dozen counter-protesters set up their own demonstration. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Partly cloudy this afternoon with highs around 86. Winds out of the south 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies develop with fog at times. Tonight, lows level off around 63. Partly cloudy skies with fog early tomorrow. Chance for storms. Highs around 86. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 83 degrees.
Have you been injured on I-10? I'm Dana Brooks of Facing Brooks Law Offices. We partnered with RoadProof to access all interstate traffic camera footage along I-10 from Pensacola to Jacksonville. Memories fade and witnesses disappear. Securing important video footage now can make sure your claim receives the full attention it deserves. Call us today and let us secure the proof you need to come back stronger. Facing Brooks, 850-777-7777. Offices Destin, Tallahassee, and Jacksonville.
Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude,
no.
I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich
There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
No need to dread Mondays around Social Kitchen. That's right. It's just another exciting week of discounts for you. Every week, Social Kitchen offers a diverse range of discounts and promotions for all their valued customers to indulge in. I'm one of them. Alongside the delicious prepared meals that you can get for the week, you can treat yourself to discounted wines, steaks. I could just stop right there. Wines and steaks. Forget about it. $5 off per pound any steak on Mondays. That's today. It's right off of Cary Forest. Go take a look at those babies. They're beautiful. And in addition, you get the discount per pound. You also get these hand-cut steaks, and then you get a selection of certified Angus and or premium American Wagyu. That's what you do right there. Tote Bag Tuesdays, Wine Wednesdays, celebrate it all at Social Kitchen. Go by Social Kitchen on Cary Forest Parkway or check it out, socialkitchentlh.com. Fun conversation Ira Chaffel and myself just had. I enjoyed it thoroughly, given the fact that they have another group of 10 to 12 guys we think will get drafted, and we do wonder just how well it'll all mesh, Tom. I do think that there are questions to be answered. The spring can't answer all of those. We walk away from spring with some questions that can't be answered until we find out which names are saying yes that we're interested in the portal in terms of depth concerns and overall rotations that we think, or at least we think that, we can comprise based on what we know they're going after. At some point we'll know, and we'll have to know pretty damn soon.
Yeah, it's funny. Last year we looked at who is Florida State's top retention candidate about this time. It was after spring, and we were forecasting the work the Battle's End was going to have to do, and we came on, to two names. We decided on Patrick Payton and Josh Farmer.
Yeah,
we're likely going to be.
Yeah.
These are the names that they're going to have to retain, and they did. I think for next year, it's probably Marvin Jones Jr. at this point. We don't know what kind of production he's going to put up this season. It might be too large and that would be.
If he goes nuts with that body and that name, he's gone.
Correct. However, he does have eligibility, which we love it. And maybe you put more eggs in that basket to try and retain him, but there's a lot of work to do. It's good and bad conversation. That defensive line is going to produce a handful, maybe more players to the NFL draft next year. You have some solutions, but you don't have a ton of them on the defensive line. We'll see perhaps if there's development that occurs during the fall, maybe a couple of blowouts to see what Florida State has in that next wave. But there's a lot of work to be done in the portal, as Florida State's going to be sending a dozen or thereabout players to the draft next year. Well, hopefully a few of them can climb up into the first round, because right now, I know you do it. If you look at those way too early 2025 mocks, Patrick Payton's name doesn't appear in a whole lot of them. I think that's going to change. But how many other Florida State Seminoles are going to creep up into that top 30, top 50 conversation? And if the answer is 3 or 4, then we are going to the playoff as the ACC champions. It's a question of who are those players going to be? Can Malik Benson take that step? Marvin Jones, or does Darrell Jackson finally make good on all that potential and he's a consensus top 20 pick? That is what remains to be seen. You knew what you were going to get last year in terms of star power and potential. They got hurt, but you knew what their ceiling was. You just don't this year. There's a mystery to it, even though you feel good about the talent that they have.
Yeah, and if Darrell Jackson plays to his ability, to his body type, to his freakish athleticism and size, he'll be a first-round pick for sure. Very few people look like that, but Darrell Jackson's never done it. He's never done it, and not at any stop, Maryland, Miami, or here. We've yet to see it, so this is it. This is a show and prove year for Darrell Jackson. But I do suspect that if it's something he wants and he's about to go get it, he will play his way into the first round of the NFL draft because of what he possesses that so few do. We got to do probables here in a minute, and we'll have to shoo everybody out of here that's in the chat. You get the hell up out of here is what you'll do for the day, or jump on over to 93.3, watch, listen, celebrate the probables together. We can do that, and that way you'll get to hear, at least for now. When do we make the shift from Ambrosia?
Usually we welcome in Frank in
the summer,
May.
the official summer. Oh, we wait. Yeah, it's in May, right?
And then we rotate, and so Ambrosia's still there, and we've also got Summer Breeze, which we haven't broken out this year yet.
Makes me feel fine.
There it is.
Yep. So a quick question. We've had this a lot in the chat before we send everybody off. I don't know the answer, and I don't know if you know the answer, and I haven't heard it yet. But yes, you have to declare that you're in the portal by the 30th, or that you want to leave by the 30th. But how long can that play out before somebody has to give a damn answer?
I don't think there's any rush.
It's interminable?
It's based upon their talent. I think the more talented you are, the more time you can take to make that decision. Yeah, I mean, coaches will want the players to be enrolled by the summer so they can go through strength and conditioning and voluntary workouts, completely voluntary workouts. So whatever that semester is. Now, they're taking exams, I would imagine, this week at Florida State. Usually when there's no midweek baseball game, that is the indicator that it's exam week on campus. So,
it's exam week this week. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. All right. I'm just kind of curious about it. I didn't know if there was a cutoff for that. Now we get you guys up out of here out of this. Let's do these probables.